Okay, Grace, this is going to be your feedback for Anim 2002, CGI2, animation and rigging. I'm going to go through the rigging elements and then look at your animation in that order. So without further ado, let's have a look at your um, rig, which is very basic. I think it's the one that Maya has on its own anyway. So let's have a look at the animation side of things and skeleton human IK. I'm kind of thinking that I should be able to select these and that kind of works. I mean, in terms of the human IK joint system, it's all functioning quite well. I'm quite happy with what I see. The issue arises when it comes to your skinning. And you can see what I mean by skinning issues here, where that leg isn't properly skinned to the area that it needs to be. Also, when looking at this, let me just see. So there are slight discrepancies and slight adjustments that needs to be done with this, and that kind of crops up. Not um, in a lot of places, I have to say, but all the same, it is something that's slightly disconcerting. And although I think you have attempted to, let me just try and see whether I can um, hide the body. I think you've attempted to um, add an influence object, but it's not connected properly, so that's where the issue crops up. Um, So that would have needed to be uh, done properly. Other than that, I do think that you probably have got a good um, that's it, a good skinning happening here. There are always issues with it being oops. Let's just get that smoothed out. Oops, that's it. There are always issues with skinning in places, but all the same, I'm quite happy with what you've done at this stage. It's not too bad. It's a bit of a gap happening there as well. This is nicely solidly placed. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm quite happy with that. Especially since I think the other foot is working fine anyway. Let's just check that. Yeah, the other foot is working. It's only the one that you've missed. So um, yeah, it's functioning well. And if you had to do any form of motion capture, then it would probably take to this quite well. Right, let's move on to your animation. I know you've submitted it for me to have a look at, and maybe it's actually here. No, that's not the one. Um, but I'm gonna try and look at it in your blog. Um, which by the way, the blog is really well put together. Again, I'm quite happy with the way that you've proceeded to assemble this, looking at the differences, looking at various different approaches that you've taken in terms of animation. The animation itself I'll come to in a moment, but I quite like the references that you've done. It's quite clear that you've looked at them. I'm not sure how effective they've been because, again, your animation in terms of your timing, there are issues that you could have taken into consideration. I quite like the fact that you paid fairly close attention to camera work. You have been sort of, your cinematography here has been fairly good, and there's a good use of it, and there's a good understanding of it. I know we had a really short session of it in the class, but there's been a good look into what various different shots are and what do they do for you and which one you're going to use, and that concept comes across here as well. Looking at your animation itself, it is, I have to say, it is a little bit sluggish in terms of the timing itself, and some of the postures, some of the dynamic postures could have been better. The walk cycle doesn't look. Let's just go back and have a look at that again. Um, the walk cycle itself, I think, is the weakest part of it. It's too pondering. You kind of expect him to be a little bit looser. There's no roll of the foot. The shoulders are a little bit too stiff. There are other issues along with it as well. But in terms of your camera work, it's not too bad. I wish you'd kept to a simple camera where you just crop from one shot to the other really quite sharply, and that's where you can actually control the camera a lot better. With CG, if you're not careful, your camera can get a little bit um, you get these wandering cameras that kind of uh, shift outside of the area that you intend to shoot, and kind of meander with ease in and out, and that's something that you want to avoid until you get really comfortable with cameras. So having simple shots where you cut from one to the other often has the best result to begin with, and this has been a good beginning for you. um, So that was quite good. That was fairly good. But again, in terms of some of your shots, I think you could have done a bit better. Crop closer in. I love the way that your other camera kind of looks down on the, was it Derek or Eric character, and that worked quite well. In terms of other stuff, again, locking the camera down often gives you the best result because it kind of keeps that solidity and that composition going for a lot longer than needed. Looking at this other part again, up, you know, look at that kick when it comes. It's a little bit too slow right towards the end. You just want that leg, that foot to be so fast that it kind of disappears for an instant, and then there's that draw back that kicks backwards. So there are those things, and you can probably see this in various different. I mean, there are examples of it coming up here. You can probably see that speed in which that it hits, then returns back to its place. So it's almost like a really fast retort, and that's kind of missing. I wish that had been sorted out. In general, I'm very happy with this submission. The, Actually, I am happy with this submission. I think you kind of said that you are very happy with it, which is okay. But I think that those issues in terms of timing and closer attention to details of character would have probably done you stood you in better service. Let's have a look at your form. Okay, and this is your form here. We have got generating and selecting ideas, which was, I think it was right for this. You pitched it at the right level. Research and analysis, because of the timing issues and because of the sort of the shakiness of the camera, that's impacted a little bit. And also in terms of looking at what character animation is, and what levels are attainable, which was missing in your journal as well, which is a bit of a shame. But there again, that's caused that bit. Not that it would have made much of a difference in an overall grade anyway. Um, Composition and form, again fairly good. Again in terms of your camera and everything, had it been much more solid, it would have probably impacted a bit better. Materials and equipment, I'm very happy with it, with the way that you proceeded to do this. I love the way that you've actually gone and sort of done the storyboard for it, and really thought about those issues. So that's quite good. But in terms of it, sort of in terms of it impacting on later on in your production, hasn't made much of an impact. So therefore, it's sort of been brought down a little bit. Media selection and communication, love the blog, love the way it's been set up. But there isn't that sense of cohesion right throughout. Again, it's good, but it could have been slightly better, and that's what C means. It's good. Um, Critical thinking and contextualization, which is again good, But in terms of getting those elements that we just talked about right, those were the things that that has brought it down. You know, thinking about it and criticizing the way that you're working to make it better. Personal management, I'm very happy with the way that you worked throughout this semester. Interpersonal, I think actually I'm going to bump that up. You have been very responsive in terms of what was asked of you. So very good. I'm quite pleased with it. You should carry on with it relentlessly. You know, really push yourself to get better, and you see the result of it in the following year.